And a very happy Thursday to you at 12:06 in the West. It's the John Phillips Show. Mr. Randy Wang's across the glass.
John, I have the live feed pulled up right now. We are moments away from somebody announcing their candidacy. It is somebody that was in elected office previously. In fact, it was the former district attorney of Alameda County. Apparently, Pamela Price is going to run for that office again.
She called me a crime boss.
You gotta be kidding me.
It's the revenge tour.
Well, I'll tell you, if they can reboot all of those old sitcoms, why can't we reboot a completely failed district attorney?
I've been bipped several times.
I mean, if this is going to happen, is George Gascon going to try to run for something?
Why not?
You know, the Oakland mayor's race is going to be next spring because it was only to finish out Shang's term. Maybe Shangy should say screw it and run for mayor again.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Maybe London Breed will move from San Francisco to Oakland and she can run for mayor of Oakland.
Make that money!
She's not doing that.
Probably not.
So when that presser happens, I'll let you know. I am monitoring the live feed, although it looks like people are staffers are being forwarded to the podium. So I don't think this thing is starting anytime soon. But when it does start, we'll hear what Pamela Price has to say on her getting even things to do tour.
Quite frankly.
You know, some days we do the show and there's not a lot of breaking news. Whenever it rains, for example, all of the news in the state of California is about the rain because we're not Florida, so it doesn't rain every single day.
We're very lucky that we're on in two markets because it doesn't usually rain both in Southern California and Northern California. But when it does rain in both, to the backlog we go. And we have quite an extensive backlog of sound we never get to play.
Well, today it's raining amazing news stories. So let's start out with this one. This comes courtesy of Michael Trujillo. Michael Trujillo is a Democratic strategist based out of Los Angeles, and he is affiliated with Antonio Villaraigosa, the former mayor of Los Angeles, who is currently a candidate for governor. And because he's affiliated with Antonio Villaraigosa and he's affiliated with Los Angeles politicos, he doesn't like it when his people are getting looked over for candidates from Northern California who he deems to be not as qualified as his guy. And in the gubernatorial race now, we have seen a scenario where Katie Porter was leading the charge. She was ahead of the pack and polling at number one pretty consistently for a long time. Then the world found out what you have known for a long time, which is that Katie Porter is a monster.
Oh, here she is.
Pammy?
Yeah, do you want to take it or you want to move on?
Let's take it. Why not?
By the people of this county in November of 2022. I come here today because I stand in the gap for vulnerable communities, for our Latino residents whose civil rights have been violated with impunity here at home, to the families of Vanetta.
So she got bored of doing the podcast already?
I guess so.
Martin and Maurice Monk, whose deaths demand justice and answers.
Wait, now she's here for crime victims? What kind of Pamela Price is this?
Boy, that's a reinvention. Last time around, she was all for the criminals.
Because, you know, they're the real victims. Many times. That is something she actually said on an interview with KPIX.
To the children and families in Palestine.
What?
Oh, we're getting into that too, huh?
What does the Alameda County DA have to do with what's going on in Gaza?
No idea.
Who are being killed with no mercy. Justice must be served. And Dr. King said that injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere. So justice must be served in the right way without favor, fear, favoritism, or hesitation. Dr. King also said that justice at its best is power, correcting everything that stands against love.
Okay, then.
You know, if she's going to get heavily involved in the situation in Gaza, can we put her on one of the flotillas?
We are standing here before you today in love, out of a love for our community, a love for our family.
You mean the community that recalled you by a wide margin?
Okay, you know that Joe Biden got in trouble because he stole the words of a British politician and presented them as his own, correct?
When he ran for president in 1988, yes.
Okay, as I sit here listening to her, it sounds to me like she is plagiarizing the 1980s WWF character Brother Love.
Families, a love of justice. And that's what we need. Leaders who are not concerned with money, but who are in love with justice.
Didn't get any endorsements on the podcast, huh?
This is Brother Love.
In 2025, we see the carnage to our federal government caused by the billionaire class at the federal level.
You mean like those billionaires in Piedmont that recalled Sheng Tao?
Oh, yeah, it was the coal companies.
In 2024 in Alameda County, we saw that same carnage. The destabilization of our justice system by a billionaire, a single billionaire, and his wannabe wealthy friends who spent millions of dollars on a recall campaign to destabilize our justice system.
Here we go. It's the airing of the grievances. Festivus comes early this year.
She has more getting even to do than O.J. Simpson.
What's going on, America?
They tried to have a special election, and when that failed, they spent millions of dollars more to mislead the public.
You mean the campaign from crime victims? Like Brenda Harbin Forte and Brenda Grisham and a whole bunch of grassroots activists, all the people in Chinatown that were getting robbed left and right. Those are the people that were misleading the narrative.
Didn't they want to meet with her? And not only would she not meet with them, she insulted them publicly on a regular basis.
That was Brenda Grisham.
And foster fear and division. Today we say no. Alameda.
Actually, they said no to you.
You notice there's always a lot of heavy breathing with her. Like this sounds like an obscene phone call.
Shang, you jealous?
That's right. I like that. That was amazing.
Alameda County is not for sale. Alameda County wants real justice that does not bend.
That's why they kicked you out.
And they seem to be happy with their decision.
Not hearing a lot of complaints about Ursula Jones Dixon. Are things still bad in Oakland? Yes. But if people do get arrested, there are prosecutions happening.
When you were there was Zippo.
For wealth, status, or political connections. I will be the district attorney who puts people first.
All right, who's bankrolling this campaign?
Nobody. I don't think she has two nickels to rub together.
I will go after corporate criminals.
Because the Soros money usually doesn't back losers.
No, the Soros money, I think, is dried up in Alameda County.
And I will hold law enforcement officers accountable, state and federal, accountable when they harm the residents of this county.
Yeah, that mindset might have been popular in 2022, not so much in 2025.
Wasn't she a gadfly candidate who ran and lost and ran and lost and ran and lost until she finally won?
Yes, and the only reason she won was because it was ranked choice voting.
Great.
It produced candidates like Pamela Price and Sheng Tao.
You may be frightened, and I know how you feel.
Federal agents, including ICE, Customs and Border Patrol, FBI, DEA, and the Federalized National Guard.
You mean the FBI that went after the Dong family? You got a problem with them?
How about when Gavin sent in attorneys from the California Department of Justice and the California Highway Patrol because your town was such a zoo?
Brought in the Jags.
can be prosecuted.
She literally did not have a single person working in the drug unit in Alameda County, so all those cases were just getting dropped.
Surprised the Grateful Dead doesn't hold more concerts there.
For assault, kidnapping, child endangerment, vehicle violations like reckless driving or leaving the scene of an accident, and any other crimes against our residents. In jurisdictions across the country where district attorneys have stood up and said that we will enforce the law, ICE has been restrained.
So we're running against that.
This is what she's going to do. She's going to do what all the others are doing running for governor, which is running against Trump. And she's going to try to run against Trump to win her seat back.
I don't know if that's going to work.
This week, the California Department of Justice launched an online portal that allows residents of California to report illegal activity by ICE.
And you know what a whole bunch of people have been doing? They've been going on that portal on Rob Bonta's website and complaining about Rob Bonta's illegal behavior.
Well, there's a lot of corruption going on there.
The online portal specifically says that a report to the Department of Justice does not replace reporting a crime to local law enforcement. And it is only when a crime is reported to local law enforcement that a district attorney has the power to hold someone accountable.
But your whole campaign was not doing that.
Yeah, your whole campaign was anything goes.
I've been bipped several times.
So when crimes by federal agents are reported to local law enforcement, we need a
How about crimes against, I don't know, the football coach that got murdered at Laney College?
Oh, she doesn't have time for that.
DA who is willing to prosecute those crimes. In cities, again, where local prosecutors have basically said, F around and find out.
Don't start cursing.
ICE has been restrained. In Alameda County, I am here to announce my campaign for election in the June 2026 primary. And when I'm elected in June 2026, I pledge that I will protect our residents.
How'd that go last time?
How long did you last?
Let's give a quick recap of things that happened under Pamela Price as Alameda County DA.
Oh my God, they melted the basketball court.
It's wild, wild west out here.
I said, hell no, baby boy. Let me get up on out of here.
There's a lot of crime now.
Who else do we go call Superman?
All of those were between 2023 and 2025.
Good work, lady.
I will say to ICE and any other federal agents who violate state law, F around and find out.
Well, looks like Pammy's getting a new drop on the wall.
No one is above the law, and I will stand for firmness in every case and fairness. Real justice applies to everyone. Justice
How
can
about crime victims?
Nope, not them.
Got to check that privilege.
not be bought by billionaires. Too often, we have seen now that Donald Trump is the champion of the billionaires. We have a DA now who's an appointed district attorney who stands with the billionaires, with corporate polluters, with insurance companies who cheat, with rogue police who kill, and with prosecutors motivated by their own political agenda and ambitions and not the law.
Can I get a citation on all of that?
That's going to take her a long time to come up with.
Donald Trump is a white supremacist racist.
And I have a feeling if Donald Trump was asked about Pamela Price, he would use the same word to describe her that he did for Tim Walz.
When our DA refuses to look at cases that we know were infected with racism and anti-Semitism, she is literally holding hands with racists and anti-Semitists.
You hear that? The black woman DA, Ursula Jones Dixon, is a racist.
Isn't it anti-Semites? She didn't say that, though. She said something else.
Let me rewind it. I can go back. It's live off of YouTube, so I can go back 5 seconds.
She is literally holding hands with racists and anti-Semitists.
Semitists?
When you are the DA, as a lawyer.
Uh-oh. I think I broke it.
Did her feed go down?
Actually, it may have. Let me try to fast forward it. Come on. Pammy, what happened? I think that's all we got.
Is she gone?
Pammy's feed went black.
Well, I guess we effed around and found out.
Wait,
Harassment.
I found her. She came back a few minutes later.
I'm a survivor of sexual assault, of sexual harassment, and domestic violence. I understand the trauma and the pain that women and survivors and victims go through.
Then why didn't you apply any of that to the actual victims who wanted to do simple things like meet with you to discuss their cases?
Yeah, all those people hate your guts.
As a survivor, I understand the critical role that counseling
Someone in the comments said maybe she should be the DA for Palestine.
and services and prosecution can play in healing survivors. That is why I formed the Gender Justice Bureau, which has now been dismantled. I have sat for 30 years with victims and families who have experienced trauma and had their most painful moments as they try to rebuild their lives. Before I was DA and when I was DA, and I will never allow their needs to be an afterthought.
But they were. And that's all the people that, with a grassroots organization, voted to kick you out of office. There's something that happens when you get recalled. It makes you the angriest person in the world. The rejection that she feels every day.
Well, it's like yesterday doesn't exist with this dizzy broad.
Their voices will be heard, and those who harm people in this community will be held accountable.
Oh, there's the magic word.
As district attorney, my responsibility is to uphold justice with a people-centered approach, protecting our communities and making sure that victims receive the support that they deserve during their most vulnerable moment. The appointed DA is not doing her job for victims, and victims are telling their stories, and no one is listening.
She might be the most delusional person in the entire state of California.
Quite frankly.
Well, there you have it. Get ready, everyone. Pamela Price is making a comeback.
Just when everyone thought in the same year we were going to lose Katie Porter, Pamela Price, and Shang Tao, all three of them are coming back with a vengeance.
She called me a crime boss.
800-222-5222 is telephone number. 1-800-222-5222. If you'd like to email the show, you can do so at johnnydon'tlikeshow@gmail.com. That's johnnydon'tlikeshow@gmail.com. And based on the look I'm seeing across the glass, it seems as if you found one you like.
Will writes in at johnnydon'tlikeshow@gmail.com. If I were an idiot like Pamela Price, I'd quit my podcast too. The only listeners I had were John and Randy relentlessly bagging on me. That is a true fact.
She called me a crime boss.
And if you missed yesterday's episode and you want to find out, well, what's going on with Katie Porter, Randy, that's easy to do.
Please.
All you got to do is search for The John Phillips Show wherever you get your podcast, whether it's the Apple Podcast app,
Little D.
iHeart,
No.
Spotify.
Paul.
Search for The John Phillips Show. Hit subscribe. You can download all the episodes. Whether it is stories about Katie Porter,
Winner, winner, chicken dinner.
stories about Shang Tao,
Absolutely, absolutely.
or stories about Pamela Price,
F around and find out.
you know we're the number one source for all that crap.
Okay, so in the last segment, well, we were listening to former Alameda County District Attorney Pamela Price announce that she will be running for that office again. I referred to her as a dizzy broad. We got an email from a listener who sent me a link to the Urban Dictionary. Now, there are two different working definitions of dizzy broad that exist.
Are either of them safe for the air?
Okay, now I'm going to read them to you, and they give an example of each one, and I feel the need to clarify which version I was using.
Okay.
Okay. So here is definition number 1 from the Urban Dictionary of dizzy broad. When a bitch goes crazy and starts yelling and talking incoherently. This usually occurs among drunk chicks at parties who start crying for no apparent reason.
Quite frankly.
And then here's the example that they give. Julia was talking dizzy broad all last night when she was smoking a cigarette outside with no shoes on. That was not the version I used.
What was the version that you used?
Okay, here's definition number 2 from the Urban Dictionary of dizzy broad. Is a term used for women who are so delusional and contradictive you could lose brain cells by talking to them.
F around and find out.
Here's the example they give of that one. Melanie got dizzy broad syndrome. She's still complaining about being single, but a guy last night walked up to her at the club and asked her for her number. That's the version I used.
She's too soft on crime.
Let's go to Don and El Cerrito. Don, hello.
Yeah, how you doing? I was thinking, when they running for mayor here next year, I think the people that are going to be asking them questions, what they plan on doing as mayor, they should put 2 mannequins as the questionnaires for the lunatics that are running for mayor, because the people are going to vote for them anyway, because Trump is a white racist. I don't mean, you get what I'm saying?
All right. Thank you for the call, sir.
It's not what he said when he called in. He said Bozo the Clown should run for mayor, which is interesting because the mayor of Gilroy's name is Bozo.
Is that so?
Greg Bozo.
Another vote for the mayor. All right. So before Pamela Price started, I told you about Michael Trujillo, who is a Democratic strategist based out of Los Angeles who has worked with Antonio Villaraigosa through the years. The former mayor of Los Angeles is a current candidate for governor, and he's not finishing in the money. In fact, I'm looking at the latest poll here. This is from
the Emerson poll?
Yes.
I've got it right here.
Okay.
So the current Emerson poll, this came out this morning. It has Chad Bianco with 13%, Eric Swalwell with 12%, Steve Hilton with 12%, Katie Porter at 11%, and then a distant 5th place is Antonio Villaraigosa at 5%, Tom Steyer at 4%, Javier Baccaria at 4%, other at 7%. So I guess Betty Yee and Tony Thurmond and all the other also-rans don't even get counted in this poll. And 31% don't like any of these ideas.
So if you're Antonio, you need Eric Swalwell and Katie Porter to have a fall from grace for you to vault up to the top 2. And so far, that's happened with Katie when we learned that she's not very nice to the people who work for her or the people who interview her.
Hey, hello, everybody.
No, peanut.
But Eric Swalwell is new to the race, and we haven't had an opportunity for that guy to screw up yet.
But what's interesting is there have been a lot of people that said they're going to run, like literally the same week that Eric Swalwell announced he's running, Tom Steyer announced he's running, and Swalwell is moving to the top of the charts very quickly.
So Antonio has to get real aggressive with Eric Swalwell if Antonio is going to make it to the November ballot. So here is what Michael Trujillo, who is the political consultant who's been affiliated with Antonio Villaraigosa through the years, put out on Twitter earlier today. Quote, I guess Swalwell could enjoy today, But folks know he slept with many of his interns while married, sexually harassed others while engaged, has a ton of weird texts late at night saved on former interns' phones still. He gets he will have to answer for this later on during the campaign, right? Endorse at your own peril, people. You have been fully warned. Just doing my public service today.
Wouldn't have all that stuff come out when he was running for president?
No, because no one took him seriously.
Now that he's an actual threat, the oppo's coming after him?
Oh, yeah. And no Republican was ever going to beat him for his congressional seat in the East Bay. That was never going to happen. So he could have a safe seat as long as he wanted. The moment he tries to take something away from another Democrat, though, when he runs statewide, that's when they're going to open up the floodgates, and the Oppo research folder on this guy is going to drop, and it looks like it already has.
It's got to be so sad if you're Antonio Villaraigosa. As candidates come and candidates go, and candidates that said they were going to run aren't running, like Kamala or Alex Padilla, none of those people are going to Tony. Tony's been stuck at 5% this entire time.
So you can look at it one of two ways. If you're Antonio Villaraigosa, you either have to win the election, where you convince people that you're the right man for the job, or you have to be the last man standing. You have to make sure that everyone else around you implodes, and there's no choice except you. And it looks like that's the route he's going with. And that might be his way to prosperity. How old is he now?
He's in his 70s.
Okay, so we've known Antonio Villaraigosa for a long time. There's nothing new that we're going to learn about Antonio Villaraigosa. But Eric Swalwell, now that's a different situation. There is a lot to learn about Eric Swalwell, and apparently his affinity for interns, according to Michael Trujillo.
Eric Swalwell, 45. Antonio Villaraigosa, 72.
Suddenly, I feel like sending him a case of cigars. And you know what? To be perfectly honest with all of you, none of this surprises me. Reading that tweet from Michael Trujillo this morning didn't surprise me one bit. Because if he has the judgment as a sitting member of Congress to go to the no-tell motel with Tokyo Rose, you think he's going to lay off the interns? You think for 1 second he's going to say, no, 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 no. I'd love to have the interns, but that's the nectar of nature's forbidden fruit. I can't have that.
So if those allegations are true and they get unveiled, what is his move? Does he do what Schwarzenegger did before the 2003 election? I was a very bad boy.
Well, I don't know what you do if you did it when you were married and engaged. And then there's text messages, which means you know what.
So someone's been sitting on some stuff just in case this guy aspired to be anything more than an obscure congressman from Dublin.
You know what they say, Randy? Sometimes a picture says 1,000 words. What do you think is in those text messages?
I can only imagine.
Lots of Richards?
Let's calm down here. Show's just getting started.
Well, I was just thinking about Dick Cheney.
Okay, now we really have to stop.
You know, the two Darrens on Bewitched, they were named Richard. York and Sargent. This guy, let me tell you, I knew that guy was going to implode. From the moment he started talking about running for governor, you take one look at him and you know that guy's dirty. You can't judge a book by its cover. Oh, yeah? Take one look at that guy's kisser. And you know what I could tell the moment I looked at his kisser?
What's that?
That kisser's been on a Chinese spy. In about half a sorority. Eric Swalwell. Well, it looks like Antonio's going for the jugular. Good for him.
He is in the zero bleeps to give phase of his life.
Well, I like to see Antonio show a little passion because you look at him in some of these interviews and the guy looks like he's fallen asleep during the interview.
Unless you ask him about M&Ms.
No, peanut.
But I guess he's real upset about being passed over so many times, so he brought out the sledgehammer.
It's got to be tough. He's been in this race for almost a year. Nobody pays attention to him. He's considered the same as a Tony Thurmond or a Betty Yee, people who have zero name ID. When people drop out, there's still so many people being like, well, is Rick Caruso going to run? Is somebody else going to run? Nobody's looking at Tony.
You know, Antonio was raised on the streets of Boyle Heights, and he's a guy who knows how to survive.
In those car clubs.
Yeah. And so if going to the newspaper editorial boards, trying to get their endorsement, and campaigning up and down the state doesn't do the trick, and this guy who's a complete dirtbag is going to try to take something away from you, you know what Antonio's going to do. He's going to go take all the copper wire out of his neighborhood. He's going to put sugar in his gas tank, and he's going to claw off his face. Keep it going, Antonio. You know, I always like something about that guy. Never voted for him, but I knew at some point he would finally do something useful. And turning Eric Swalwell into an unelectable pariah is something worthy of our praise.
Well, I think Tony's finest moment of the campaign, and it hasn't turned into any more people wanting to support him, but I thought it was a beautiful masterclass in what you do. When the Katie Porter story imploded and that video emerged in the 30-minute segment of all the interviews with Julie Watts about redistricting, and a certain little radio show told everyone where to find that video, and it went everywhere. Antonio Villaraigosa's people bought 3 minutes of time on local Sacramento TV and just played that interview.
Well, to those voters, okay, so you...
I don't want to keep doing this. I'm going to call it. Okay. Thank you.
You're not going to do the interview with us?
Nope, not like this. I'm not. Not with 7 follow-ups to every single question you ask.
They made that into a campaign ad.
Well, I'll tell you, it looks like if Antonio can't win, he's going to burn the buildings and salt the land. And I love it. 800-222-5222 if you want to weigh in on any of this. 1-800-222-5222. 800-222-5222 is the telephone number. 1-800-222-5222. If you'd like to email the show, you can do so at johnnydon'tlikeshow@gmail.com. That's johnnydon'tlikeshow@gmail.com. The Fix California Hour coming up after the news at 1. We're going to check in with CNN's Alex Michelson. And Randy, as I sat here during the break, thinking about that Michael Trujillo tweet about Eric Swalwell, the congressman and candidate for governor, I'll tell you what it reminded me of.
What's that?
It reminded me of how big the state of California is and how that results in certain things just being ignored. If you are the congressman representing South Dakota, there's only one of you. I guess you have 2 senators, but 1 member of the House. So whatever it is that you do usually makes news there because you're the only guy. You're it. There's nobody else. And even some of the bigger states, but still small, the same thing is true. You go to Utah, there's what, 3 of them, 4 of them, something like that. So if you do something stupid, they're going to find out about it.
Yeah, Utah's got 4.
Okay. They'll probably pick more up in the next census because everyone's leaving here.
Well, or the people that live in Utah are just getting bigger and bigger families.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, they like to procreate there. Attractive state. But in California, We have how many? 53 members of Congress?
Used to be 54.
Okay, so we have 53 members of Congress. So if you're a member of Congress and you've been there for a long time.
Oh, no, we have 52.
52, okay. You are relatively anonymous. No one pays attention to you because we have a million of them.
I don't think I could honestly tell you off the top of my head who my current congressman is.
Well, there you go. And you read the paper.
It used to be Brad Sherman, but they moved him into a different district. Is it Jimmy Gomez? I have no idea.
Well, they're changing all the districts around, so the moment you learn it, you're going to have to learn a new one. But I'll tell you, when these members of this delegation get a little bit of scrutiny, something that they're not used to, boy, we learn a lot. But in any other state, I think we'd be aware of this stuff by now.
Well, and then imagine if you're a member of the Assembly of the State Senate. Outside of Scott Wiener, the average Californian probably couldn't name you one member of the California legislature.
Nobody knows who they are. And I think part of that they benefit from because you can do whatever you want. Nobody cares. But I think it bothers them, too. It's a double-edged sword because Swalwell wants to be a celebrity. He wants everyone to know who he is. It's part of the reason that he lives so large. He travels around the globe in first-class accommodations, and he can use his campaign account to pay for it because no Republican is ever going to beat him. He wants to be somebody really, really, really bad. Well, Antonio Villaraigosa is going to make sure that people know all about Eric Swalwell.
He's still not going to win.
Probably not. But he just did a service to the people of the United States. All right, we've got 2 more hours coming up on the John Phillips Show. The Fix California hours next. Don't you go anywhere.